live on the.
You guys are the ones usually making me break. Remember, I
usually, but I'm not very smart, so.
Wow.
Seeing.
We are live on both platforms. I am tweeting, and people get to hear me tweet because that's cool. I didn't just do that. Right.
I am woman. Hear me tweet.
There you go. All right.
Evan, never tweet your heroes. All right.
It's true. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
Hola.
Ruben Bressler.
Oh, hi. Welcome home.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
Enjoy
your trip.
Yeah, like
I am back in the States. I arrived on Wednesday. We wanted to record. I'm actually part of the reason why we weren't able to record on Wednesday. I apologize, but I wanted to record, but Evan I got off the plane and I was like, I'm ready, let's do this. And Evan's like, there's no way you're going to make it. And I was like, I can do this, coach. Put me in the game. And you were like, yeah, no.
You now know the power of the jet lag monster. It is.
It is a very unique brand of tired. Like, I've been on this good earth, 34 years, and I know what being tired feels like. But when you've been yanked through 6 or 7 time zones, that is a special kind of tired that I can't even put into words. Like, oh my God. Like, I felt like I was traveling through time. Like, you close your eyes and 3 hours pass and you're like, what just happened here? And my brain, I had a meeting at work today and I just like, it was like that Missy Elliott song when she says, say lack dumb, like, duh. I was in a meeting and I was just like, and my boss is like, go on. And I was like, Like, I just like,
Erin, you're time traveling again.
Pretty much.
You sweet summer child.
Yeah.
You just didn't know, but now you know. Jet lag monster. Very scary. We'll also get started by announcing that we have a trumpet blast. We don't have one this week, but if you would like to support us at the highest level on Patreon, you'll get one once a month. We'll talk about whatever you want. That's it. Moving on, Ruben, with the sound effects.
With the trumpet blast.
And now we're going to kick it off with the first pick and the giveaway. The giveaway this week is a draft set of Masters 25. Masters 25 is coming out. It looks sweet. People are excited. The opposite of iconic Masters. So that's good.
Yeah.
I think Wizards is really going to juice that set, and that's really cool. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but we're going to give away a draft set to a lucky winner. We'll do that in about an hour. So, awesome. Ruben, help me with the links, please.
I will do my best. I also have to monitor a third chat this week.
Oh, yes.
In case y'all didn't know, in addition to Twitch and YouTube, which you can watch us live, there is an additional Patreon-only chat Discord now, which I'll be monitoring. I won't anticipate having to ban anyone on that, but I am looking at it in case anyone has any interesting or timely comments.
Ruben, you look particularly fresh-faced today.
Thank you. I shaved for the first time in 2018 since the last episode. I've also taken the advice of one of our YouTube commenters about my eyebrows. Because they're too far away from the middle of my face, apparently, so I need to grow it out a little bit. But look, a little factoid about me that you might not know. I'll try to get my parents to take a picture of this because they have a picture of my senior picture hanging in their house. I had a unibrow all the way through high school, so I'm very self-conscious about my eyebrows.
Wow.
Much more self-conscious about that than my thinning hair, as a matter of fact.
I see.
Because I've had a unibrow my entire life. That's what you get when you're Greek. Right? You get this ridiculously low brow line that looks like you're Wolverine from X-Men, and then you also get a little bit of unibrow. So I'm constantly doing this, but I gotta take it back a little bit. I gotta, Okay. So anyway, that's enough.
Ruben Unibrowsler.
Yeah.
we got all the updates on the Unibrowsler. Got it. All right. Fantastic. Erin, you will be streaming in a couple days.
Yeah, so as part of our new, promise that we were going to start streaming more with our new Patreon revamp, I had committed to the last weekend of the month, but that was my fault. I didn't realize I was going to be in Memphis that weekend for the Grand Prix, and counting on hotel Wi-Fi is just not going to work. And then the weekend before that, I really want to go to SCG Indy because I don't get to play very often with me working around Magic now. So me and one of my very dear friends are going to road trip it to Indy, so I can't do it that weekend either. So Ruben and I decided to switch days. He's going to take the last Sunday of the month, and I'm going to take this Sunday. I'm going to play some Vintage Dredge. I might play some Commander if I can rustle up some friends to play with me. But yeah, you'll be jet lag. Words just, I can't form
I'm
words.
saying things out of my face. I mean,
you'll be able to hang out with me this Sunday. We'll have a lot of fun.
Second to last Sunday of the month for me. Last Sunday of the month, my mom's visiting me in Vegas. I'll be live on the 18th.
Thank you for swapping with me. I felt really bad about that. Okay.
Anytime. I'm the one without a job. So if anyone's going to be free, it's
jet lag and jobs.
I just, I tried to stream Pauper because I like Pauper. I ended up picking not great deck. I like Tron. I was playing Tron. Tron's fun. It's cool, but my God, I went 0-10. I went 0.
Wow.
And, I just got so straight whooping, like actual taken out back to bam. I swear to God, that last deck I played against may have just existed to run you out of time. It didn't actually do anything, and I don't do a whole lot. And oh my God, I died because I ran out of time. That's what happened.
It's funny because I was watching you for the first couple of rounds, and like I could almost see your mood kind of like going down. Like when you first started the stream, you're like, "Hello, everybody," and like by round 3, you were like, and there was no more Mr. Orange.
I don't know how to win. Anyway, whatever. It's fine.
It's hard, yeah.
I will do a retribution stream soon.
Wow.
Coming back.
The March of the Oranges in March.
Wow. Tell you what. Well, I'll choose more wisely. Let's put it that way. So, okay. Now, finally, first pick, ladies and gentlemen.
We have so many things to talk about.
We have so much to talk about. It's so good. First of all, the Pro Tour. Congratulations to Luis Salvatto and runner-up Gerry Thompson. Way to go, Gerry! Yay, that's great. He had a super cool deck, and it was awesome. And we had a fantasy draft for the last time when we were live last time, and it turns out that Team Musashi is ridiculous. Like, not even like of this world. They had a combined 194 match points. That's how much they had.
Absurd. That is a ridiculous number.
That is a ridiculous number. Like, it's actually insane. Whereas,
that's over 32 points a player. That is an unsustainable number. That is like so far outside. That is so far outlier that it's kind of ridiculous, even for the team that won last year.
Yeah. Oh man, it's insane. So between Ruben's team and Musashi, most particularly Musashi, he won 261 versus Erin's 230 and my 225. Interestingly, we all had one player who just didn't really get there. We had Ruben, you had Seth Manfield, who only had 9 points. Let's see, Erin, you had Shahar Shenhar, who only had 6 points. And I had Sam Black, who only had 9. So, that's okay. The rest of them had super high numbers, and that was neat. Yeah. But even in the individuals, actually was interesting because Erin and I tied at 69 match points. And Ruben had 67. Nice.
I had to do it, Nice. All right. And I had 67, yeah.
So congratulations, Ruben. You got there. All right. So the Pro Tour happened. It was really neat. Modern, super cool, fun format. I love the Hollow One deck. I think it's absolutely just fascinating, brilliant. And
you know how tough it was watching him go up against Bay?
Yeah, right.
I was more torn than Natalie Imbruglia. I didn't know who to root for. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. That was, when you go the turn 1 Burning Inquiry and then 2 4/4s. That was. Yikes!
It was so good.
Clean living.
It was so much fun to watch. It was absolutely brilliant. And so we got to Sunday. We got to Luis Salvatto, and his Lantern deck had amazing matchups, basically the entire bracket. And turns out he won, which was fine. Yeah. Now, I immediately jumped on Twitter, as I do, and run my face and said, "Hey, this is cool. And now it's time for Lantern to go." And then, like, the world exploded, and people who think Lantern should be banned are stupid, and how could you ever imagine this, and blah, 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 blah. Look, people, I'm a marketer, okay? I'm a marketing dude. I like to communicate people with stuff. I like to show things in a way. I like to evoke things in people. I like to figure out how to best present stuff, okay? Don't present Magic and the top tiers of Magic as, okay, we're going to play until we don't play anymore, until we grind to a halt, and then you agree and I agree that the game is over, and then we scoop. That to me is bad optics. That is like ugly magic. It's not. It's weird. It's almost as bad as explaining a combo, except instead of explaining a combo, you literally just go, okay, we're done. That's our climax. Is okay, we're done. And I can't imagine
that's climax usually.
Wow, that's what. That's my point is that do I think Lantern is broken? I don't think it's broken. I think it's weird, it's boring, and it's unfun. And I think you just don't want to promote a prison style deck as something that you want at the top tiers of your competitive
it's
sport
tricky.
or whatever.
Like it's tricky because I agree with you in terms of I don't agree with the way that it ends games and that's not necessarily you want to put on the main stage. The tricky part is that people will watch it. Piotr, I think Glokowski, or the young man from Poland who made Lantern a thing. He's very popular for Lantern. He consistently hits triple-digit numbers of people who will sit there and watch him grind these poor saps out of Magic Online. Jody Keith was streaming it the other night and had very good numbers. Cedric, I seem to recall Cedric even going on the record once. Somebody had tweeted at him during a Modern Open and was like, oh goody, another Lantern match. And Cedric was like, people will watch Lantern. And so I agree that it's not a message you want to be putting forward, that you want to end the game by sort of, shame conceding or just being frustrated and scooping. But, there are people that will watch it. And so there's a weird duality there. If it's a horrible message to send, but people love, on some level, people love seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, I played Lantern at an SCG, and I had a ton of fun playing it, and I think it's actually a somewhat interesting deck in a lot of matchups. Unfortunately, none of the matchups that were in the top 8 were really that interesting for the Lantern side of things. That Evan, that's fine, I get that, but you're wrong, and I hate you. Real brief interjection, because I think that, on the one hand, I get where you're coming from, but on the other hand, Lantern used to just be a metagame call. And the real turning point was when Whir of Invention came out, and you could play the 5th through 8th copies of Ensnaring Bridge and the 2nd through 4th copies of both Grafdigger's Cage and Witchbane Orb in the main deck. That was the real turning point of that deck becoming a metagame choice to tier 1. And while I agree that I mean, you don't need to cut the legs out from under it. There are pieces of Lantern. I definitely think that Mox Opal just is a card that needs to go. I think that card is unreasonable, and if Simian Spirit Guide isn't in the format, then Mox Opal shouldn't be in the format. And I think that if you cut that card out of the format, and you're not necessarily targeting Lantern, but you're cutting out enough of the deck that hampers it a little bit if your concern is Lantern being too good, right? Which it's not. It's also just not a good deck.
It's not a broken deck. It's a very good deck. It's tier 1. That means it's a good deck.
Oh, for sure.
The thing is, here's what you do. It's very simple, and this was the rumor that got started, that somebody decided to, use a screenshot and edit it to show, this is how you hit it in the knee. Ensnaring Bridge. Just bam. That's it. That's it. The deck is dead. The deck is dead when that card is gone.
And I agree also with the perspective of we can get rid of Ensnaring Bridge, because I think that we can also just get rid of 8th edition.
We certainly could.
You're one of those people.
Well, it's
I'm an 8th edition. I'm an 8th edition truther for sure.
Well, sure,
absolutely.
But all I'm saying is that, again, what does that card do? Right? That card says let's not play Magic. To get rid of cards that just don't let you play Magic. That's just, mill them, do crazy stuff. And I appreciate that. Lantern in general came from like a brewer's paradise, and somebody just came up with that, and that's great. So did the Hollow One deck. That's amazing. So did the crazy Pyromancer deck that Gerry played, which was super cool. For me, I don't want to promote. I don't feel like Wizards wants to promote that. No one's saying it's broken. I never said it was broken. I just said I don't want to show that and be like, here's Magic. We play until you scoop to me because we can't play anymore. That sucks. That's just that to me. That sucks.
I do love that. Well, first of all, I love that the last 2 Modern Pro Tours have been won by decks that were primarily made up of uncommons that were stone unplayable in Standard. Which is amazing. I love that. I think that Modern is a brewer's paradise also, and I think that Lantern exemplifies that. I think that the finals exemplified that.
Sure.
Certainly the blue-red Pyromancer deck would have had a much better chance of beating the Ensnaring Bridge deck because they have Ancestral Visions in their deck, and you can draw 3 if you really want to, bro. But, I think that the things just set themselves up really well for Luis Salvatto. On Sunday,
right.
About 8 people, maybe 9 people played Lantern, and I think like 3 of them had winning records, and Luis happened to be one of them. I don't think it's a deck that needs to be banned. This is Modern. The most popular deck in Modern had less than a 10% share of the metagame. The other section was over a quarter of the metagame, which means that people chose other decks, which are fewer than 8 people or 9 people chose them for the tournament. I think that Modern is in a really healthy spot right now. I really liked everything that we saw. I mean, 7 archetypes in the top 8, and the archetype that was represented twice was humans, which wasn't on anyone's radar 3 months ago. I just think that Modern's fine. Like, why do we need to change anything? All you Bloodbraid Elf unbanned people. Like, why? Why do we need to? Why?
Well,
why do we need to change anything?
I mean, look, this past
the format's great. Why are we trying to do anything?
Well, look, everyone woke up this morning and all the Jace the Mind Sculptors were gone because someone decided to
Photoshop.
Oh, did you also see? Did you also see that there was a humans deck in Vintage that you had like 5 and note?
That's insane.
Stop.
That is amazing.
Awesome.
But somebody, doctored a picture that said Jace the Mind Sculptor was unbanned in Modern and Ensnaring Bridge was banned. At which point, gamblers all across the world decided they were going to go buy every Jace the Mind Sculptor, even though it's just about to be reprinted, and they're telling you it's about to be reprinted, but whatever.
Well, nobody ever said the finance people were smart. I mean,
well, here we are, and so by
if I were heavily invested in Jace the Mind Sculptor, I think that photoshopping that would be a high priority on my list. That would be a good move.
Right. So it was debunked fairly quickly. I think it was up maybe 4 or 5 hours before it was like officially, look, here's how the screenshot was doctored and whatever. But for that period of time, a lot of Jaces sold, and I still don't see that ever being unbanned. So good luck with that, guys.
Yeah, if you think Lantern is bad now, just wait till they get Jace the Mind Sculptor. Boy, howdy. You think that unbanning Jace makes Control good? No, it makes Lantern unreasonable.
I hadn't even considered putting it in Lantern.
That's
now that you mention it, it's scary. But yeah, I didn't even.
You win condition in Lantern if you want to pay it.
That's disgusting. Okay, so let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. Masters 25 that we have spoken about a little bit. That we're giving away a draft set. Check out the link in the chat, or it's already been tweeted from our Magic Mike's account. But the packaging was unveiled for Masters 25. When they unveil the packaging, they usually, almost by default, oops, here's your awesome reprint because, we don't put it on the packs, which is Jace the Mind Sculptor. Jace the Mind Sculptor is on the packs for Masters 25. It is officially spoiled here. The set symbol is a 25 over a Planeswalker symbol, and the 25 is colored. A little weird, but whatever. There's only so many set symbols in the world, I guess. But Jace the Mind Sculptor is being reprinted as a mythic, which is awesome. They also unveiled that Azusa, Lost But Seeking, is also going to be reprinted as a rare. And for those who don't know, that is a green and 2 generic mana 1/2, originally from Champions of Kamigawa. It's a legendary human monk, and you may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. And so turns out that's a really cool ability, particularly in
very popular in the Summer's Bloom decks as well, and all of the Titan Shift kind of archetypes.
Right, so it's got all new artwork, which is gorgeous, but they also do something that's really unique that they're going to do for all of the reprinted cards in the set. They're going to have, except apparently Jace the Mind Sculptor, because Jace.
It's got all text.
It's got all text, but for those from coming from the other sets, they're going to have the set symbol as a watermark, which means when they're foiled, you're going to have that really cool foil watermark of the set that it came from. Also, not on this page, but via, I guess, social media or somewhere, Phyrexian Obliterator was also spoiled as being in the set, which is going to be fantastic. And this is like, we're in this weird period, okay? Iconic Masters was a massive failure. I mean, like, it was bad. It was seriously gross.
And they know it, too.
And they know it, but here's the thing. Whatever they're doing in Masters 25 was locked in before they saw how Iconic Masters failed. Does that make sense? So if they wanted to do things like, kind of pump up Masters 25 so they could kind of correct the error, like we're sorry about Iconic Masters, even though Iconic Masters was totally fine as like a money value set, whatever.
And it's a draft set, yeah.
And it's a great draft set, which is fantastic. I'm not going to say they're going to put the pedal down because Iconic Masters. They're going to put the pedal down because of Masters 25, because it's the 25th anniversary, right? Yeah. This is your 25th anniversary set. What you going to do? Don't screw it up. We already have Jace. That's a terrific money card. Azusa is awesome. Phyrexian Obliterator is great. Like, this should be like one hit after another. I hope.
Yeah.
You would say that, but then I remember how the 20th anniversary rolled around and they didn't even show up at Gen Con for it.
They didn't even acknowledge it. Like,
They've
learned from some past mistakes. Not acknowledging the anniversary is a mistake that they are learning from. they have not yet had time to learn from the Iconic Masters mistakes. So we'll see if they accidentally follow those same footsteps in the bad ways and not in the good ways. Well, thus far, I'm excited. I think that the Watermark edition is very cool. I think it's neat. I don't think it's going to change anything in terms of sales, but I think it's a nice homage, certainly, especially in a summer where we're also getting Dominaria. So
they may not even have to go that far. I mean, if the bar is so low from Iconic Masters, I mean, they may not even have to go overboard. They can maybe just do like 5% more and wow people. Like, it seems really easy to avoid that mistake again.
Yeah, we'll sort of see where they go with that. But you know, speaking of a good segue, sometimes Wizards does learn from a mistake. Sometimes they say, "Whoa, that was dumb." You know what was dumb? Making double-sided foil tokens for FNM instead of an FNM promo. Yeah. If only, like, as soon as the instant we saw it was like a bad idea, but it turns out it's still a bad idea. And the earliest they could turn that ship around was Dominaria, and non-token promos are coming back, starting with Dominaria on April 27th. Yeah, as they should. And
there was also a really funny Twitter conversation between some folks in the hashtag WotC staff line of chat that were like, hey, now that we have a play design team, we actually know which cards to make as promos. And then I forget who said it. I think it was actually Aaron Forsyth who said, just so long as you don't do whatever the bad factor fiction was. Oh, God. Yeah, as long as you guys don't have any of those, we'll be okay, which I thought was great.
That's fantastic. Well, because Wizards has always done this dance with FNM, like, and they've swung from different pendulums. You know, Fatal Push is an example of going all the way to, you know, one of the best, one of the most played, one of the most desired cards, right? And then you go to that crappy Factor Fiction is sort of one of the worst, right?
Truth or Tale? No, Truth or Tale is the one from Time Spiral.
It's not important.
It's a different one. Hold on.
My point is that there's this weird dance of like, make the FNM promo good, but don't make it too good, because if it's too good, all the sharks are going to show up, and everyone hates the sharks, and God forbid that this card be worth anything to anybody. You know, see also Fatal Push, see also FNM attendance to Fatal Push was insane. See also, I can only imagine the little chart where it's like, you know, Fatal
Fortune's
Push,
favor,
double-sided tokens,
favor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it just
that's
splat.
been an issue with FNM for as long as I can remember. Is sort of this weird identity crisis of, you know, you go on the official Magic website and you see 5, you know, strangers with big smiles, and they're like, you too can take, you know, whatever deck you found in the trash and go to FNM and have a marvelous time. And the reality is, you know, especially like if you're traveling and say you visit the FNM before a major event, you're going to run into some spikes. You just may happen to live in a more competitive area. You know, there has sort of been this tug of war for a long time of who is FNM for, that you're selling it as being this experience that anybody can play regardless of experience level. But the sad reality is that in many stores, that's not the case. If you take whatever 10.99 draft product they're selling, you're going to get obliterated, and that it's not oftentimes this beginner's paradise like they make you think it is. And so I'm not surprised to sort of see that battle be played out with the tokens and the prizes as well, because it's been like that for years.
Right. And so,
shout out to anybody who's watching us at FNM. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a lot of space in between Fatal Push, which was our card of the year, and, you know, whatever that card was, Fortune Favor. It was so forgettable that I forgot its name in the last 30 seconds.
Exactly.
There's plenty of room in there. I mean, you know, like Servo Exhibition isn't exactly the most ideal, but that was an FNM promo that was like fine. Yeah. Like, it was okay. It wasn't Fatal Push. It wasn't like Renegade Rallier before it was banned, but like, you know, it was something. So you can definitely do stuff like, for example, Chefette Dunes is a standard playable uncommon, right? Like, we can just make that an FNM card. That's fine. People would be okay with that. It doesn't have to be a Braids and Harnessed Lightnings and Whirler Virtuosos and every other 4 of that wins every standard tournament. It can be, you know, some middle of the road kind of not for everybody kind of cards.
Well, and I hope they make better choices. I feel like they've struggled with that for a long time.
And there are plenty of easy ones, too. Like, you just do Daring Buccaneer and Kumena's Speaker and all the tribal cards for the next 6 months, and then you're golden for a little while.
So we're going to move on here to another topic. We have so very many, which is great.
Oh, my goodness.
So the Magic card quality has kind of been poop lately. And by lately, I mean, like, it's kind of been drawn on for maybe a couple years now. Of
it's been bad.
Poor quality cards warping, like, you know, the card, they just don't make them like they used to. And that was kind of the prevailing thought. And the professors made videos about it. Other people made videos about it. It's a thing that people are trying to figure out. I still believe that Wizards is in the situation that they can't say, like, yes, we took the quality down, or yes, we know that the cards are worse than before, because then that's a liability issue legally, that they could be sued for making defective products or whatever. That's my take, is why Wizards is as quiet as they are on the issue. However, someone who works in the paper industry today had chimed in on Reddit about a different story about someone having a problem with a foil card that's only foiled in a commander deck, so you have to play the foil version and it shows up in your deck as a marked card, blah, blah, blah. But mention, hey, I'm an industry veteran from the paper industry, and, you know, and he kind of goes on a very, very long post that, thank God, someone boiled down to a too long, didn't read, about 5 good sentences. God bless you. Basically this, what he's saying is, 3 years ago, Congress put a tariff on certain paper imports. This, he suspects that this caused Wizards to change suppliers, which would make sense, right? That would, and we're still talking about the Tarkirish range when things started to go downhill, which makes a little bit more sense. You're confident, or he's confident that he figured out what they're buying now, and it sucks. In fact, it sucks worse than other papers of the same cost. So this isn't just cost-cutting measures showing themselves. It's just bad management / bad decisions. It's just a mistake. So even the crappy paper they're buying now, however, should not be curling so horribly. And he has no idea why. He's not really sure why exactly it's as bad as it is.
I think it's even gone back farther than that. You know, I haven't used foils for years. I don't remember if it was my Cabal therapies or if it was something relating to Living End, but I seem to recall I was just getting into a format. I don't remember if it was Modern or Legacy, and I remembered I tried using some foils. Like, I didn't have a full set of something. I might have had like some non-foils and some foils or whatever. And I distinctly remember going to a tournament and having a judge call on me by my opponent because he was like, hey, no shade, but your card's puffing up. Like, I can very obviously see what's going on. And from that day forward, I've never used foils. I've actually started leaning more towards alters if I want something sort of fun and customizable. But yeah, I got burned once by foils a long time ago. And, you know, unless I'm running something that's purely foil, which is rare, I just won't even bother because it has always been like that for as long as I can remember. So it's funny that it's just now becoming this epidemic when I've always had that problem. Like, I've never, if I have a choice between foil and non-foil, I will always go with the non-foil because I got burned once and I won't do it again. Well,
there is a really cool Grixis commander from Commander 2017 called Kess Dissident Mage. It's a red, black, blue, and 1 generic mana for a 3/4 legendary human wizard that can fly. But during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If a card cast this way to be put into your graveyard, you exile it instead. So that's pretty cool in super old formats with a lot of busted things.
It has flying too?
It also has flying because reasons, which is awesome. It gives you 3 spells. That card's
playable without 4 toughness or flying.
See? Oh, yeah. It even dodges lightning bolts, which is really cool. So
absurd.
Could see play at older formats. There is just no way to get it on foil. It doesn't even exist. That's the only way you can get it. So you either have to play the foil, cross your fingers, and hope you don't get game losses or whatever, or you'll have to go to the judge and get them to approve a proxy and say, look, this card is so warped. Let me, write its name on a plains because that's all we got.
I've seen people suggest using like silica powder, or those little silica packets can somehow like
don't eat
reverse that.
That's
like
the one thing.
Yeah, it's so Bill Nye stuff. Just like put it in a room and do this and wiggle your nose and bam, and it's like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, you get out those little packets that come in your beef jerky and place it in the sleeve with the
your
foil.
Shoes.
It still doesn't work though. Like why do I have to do that? Why can't you just print usable cards? And so Michael Scott from Dunder Mifflin came in this thread, and that's an Office joke for those of you. Anyway, so we had a paper expert come in, and apparently this like goes way over my head, way over everybody's head. Goes into stuff like tariffs happening, like things that happened on an international scale years ago about paper becoming more this specific type of paper becoming more expensive in the United States. And it's a North American issue. So
thanks,
one of the
Obama.
ways, exactly. Thanks, Obama. So one of the ways to mitigate this, not Kess, unfortunately, that won't work, but potentially you can purchase European boxes printed in English, or you can purchase Japanese product. Russian product, obviously, if those are available to you as options, because they don't use the North American printers. And so you can get the higher quality paper on cards that do the same thing.
Yeah, I've seen several people on Twitter say that, you know, they live in Europe or they live wherever and they have not experienced this. And they it seems like they're chalking it up to being just a North American thing. So if you are fortunate enough to be able to buy from, you know, European vendors or even, you know, folks like Haruya who come across very often and come hang out at American GPs, you might be better off because that's just so weird.
Yeah,
so,
and this has been an issue that lots of people have been talking about for years at this point. But it only just came to a head because we finally have our very own paper scientist who's popped in, and I just want I don't know who the person is. I just wanted to quickly thank them for jumping out on a limb, because I know that this theoretically could be dangerous to their career. They work in like a very small mom and pop paper company, apparently, that's been in their family since 1865 or something like that. But they're not one of the big. They're not a member of Big Paper. Again, I'm not up on paper politics.
Well, basically, it's a tight-knit industry. It's just like, for example, like the hobby industry. Like there's only really so many players. And people who make, for example, board games and card games, whatever, there's only so many, and a lot of people know each other, and that's just kind of how industries of any type work. I'm
being told by Sebas GL1 that it's a full America thing, that Colombian Spanish cards also bend like hell.
Well, so
maybe
North America, South America.
It might be
Central.
a new world thing where South America gets their cards from the North American factories as well. In any case.
New world, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm also informed via JWiley129 that asking the judge to let you use a planes and write Kess on it or whatever doesn't work, because the head judge can only offer proxies if a card is damaged, quote, over the course of the tournament, which makes me want to puke, because that's stupid.
So here's what you have to do. Round one, be shuffling, accidentally have the Kess flip up, and say, "Excuse me, opponent, can you rip that up for me?"
Can you just a little...
And then the rest of the tournament, you're gold.
Yeah, you're fine. You're totally fine. Well, that pivots into yet another topic that we have to talk about, which was Hipsters of the Coast, which, for what, just going to note it out there, is doing some damn fine work. Like they've actually been doing really good work for a long time. And they had an interview with Chris Cox, which is really good. They had a 3-part interview. This was really cool. They actually got on the phone with Chris Cox and the PR team, because, you know, Wizards. And, you know, they got to ask him the stuff and talk about stuff, which pivots into they got to ask him, the president of Wizards of the Coast, about cardstock, which Rich Stein, I love. The question is just, what's going on with cardstock? Like, what's up with that? And he basically said that they're following social media trends and people online, what people are saying. It's weird because this is what he said. He said, I think what I can say at the highest level is you've heard the old adage, you can have it fast, cheap, or you can have it good. And we're committed to having all three. Well, here's the thing about that old adage. You can only have 2 of them.
Yeah, you can't have all 3.
You can't. Now, we're committed to having all 3. Well, so am I. But that doesn't mean I get any of that, in any of those fashions. You only get 2. And clearly, you know, the cheap and the fast are where we're at right now. And we need to move that needle over. And people have done some light math of, like, you know, if this paper costs 0.004 more than the other one, that's like millions of dollars once you print billions of cards. So, like, the numbers matter a lot. And of course, there's economics here, and, you know, Hasbro wants them to be profitable because they're a subsidiary and yada yada. I mean, so they're going to meet with they meet with their vendors regularly. Okay, we test the heck out of our cards regularly. You sure about that? And if we need to make any changes, we'll make those changes. You should make those changes. We need some of those changes.
There were fascinating first of all, fabulous interview, hipsters. Well done.
It was great.
This was a fascinating read. I mean, if you haven't read this thing yet, you gotta go and chew on every paragraph, because this is literally the guy who's in charge of everything. Yeah. And first of all, the fact that he plays the arena beta is adorable. It's my favorite. Like, if you played the arena beta of any length of time, you've probably played against the president of the company.
That's amazing.
Like, that's hilarious. That's just kind of mind-blowing to even think about. There were a lot of really interesting factoids. For example, they have 600 people at Wizards of the Coast, and in the last 2 or so years that he's been there, they've probably hired a quarter of them, 150 of them.
That's a lot.
And a lot of them have been for digital things, which says to me over half. That's what a lot means to me.
For sure.
Which means that 1/8 of the company, at least, has been hired over the past 2 years specifically to deal with digital interface, which is crazy. Well, that's a huge number.
That's a huge investment.
And this also, we can sort of, this is going to dovetail a little bit with the Q4 earnings reports from Hasbro, which of course, once again said that Magic was doing great and doing, just fine. And that there's lots of inner
it did say that Magic was down in the fourth quarter.
It did say Magic specifically was down.
Right.
But that it is still like the strongest thing that one of the strongest things Hasbro has.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that inter-industry folks are excited about the Transformers game.
Sure.
Which I thought was interesting. That's a lot. You don't have to go read the whole Q4 earnings report. That one's a lot, chunkier to deal with. But this hipsters interview just had so many cool things going on with it.
Well, go ahead.
I was just say I like that they finally name dropped Helen's replacement. Like I've known about this man for a while. I've been very fortunate to have friends who work for the company, and I knew that Helen had been essentially replaced, but I knew that this person had kind of chosen to not be as public facing, and that nobody really knew who he was. And so it was very interesting that Chris would name drop him. Davide Bonatti, senior director of competitive gaming and esports, joined us from Wizards Europe, and he runs our organized playing team. So that's been a question that people have been floating around, especially in light of recent events with the new Monopoly, people having all these questions and going, where's Helen? We have nobody to really lead us. Who's kind of running the show? Well, now who's kind of running the show. And I'm really glad that they sort of put that question to bed because it hadn't been answered. I don't think they ever officially made an announcement. Like I know that he prefers to sort of, work from the background, but I don't even think there was ever a moment where they said, this is the guy. Like it was just.
This was so casual. They're just like, yeah, it's Davide Bonatti, whatever. And you're like, what? Really?
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard the name, but I know for a fact this is the first time most of you probably have. And
it's the first time. He wasn't even at the Pro Tour.
He wasn't even at the Pro Tour. Like I saw that face. Like I kind of Facebook stalked him, but I wanted to know what he looks like. And if maybe I ran into him at the Pro Tour this weekend, no, like he wasn't even at the Pro Tour. Like we're so used to Helen being everywhere, and no.
Yeah, something else that he also mentioned, this is Chris Cox, mentioned about coverage. He said, you will see high-level competitive events that will be focused on digital versions of the game, and you'll see likely even more competitive events that are focused on the paper version. Probably, maybe it's a year or two down the road, a hybrid of events that are where both kind are showcased. And this is
that sounds awesome.
Well, first of all, this is where I would say you're going to play MTG Arena for Constructed, and you're going to play the paper for Draft. And that's how they're going to run their Pro Tours. Because you want to stream Arena. You don't want to stream cards that can be glarish and like, what is this interface? And no one sees it. And like, there's a die. What does that die mean? Now there's a Tarmo die thing if they're trying it. Like, you'll know exactly what's in both players' hands immediately. All those problems go away if you show Arena instead of real people who have to run around with iPads to try to get every card in everybody's hand, which can be a little awkward. So, this to me is the natural evolution. This is where I think they want to go. They want MTG Arena to be the thing that you do for Magic. Magic Online, the old Iron Horse, I think was Rich Stein, as he put it there, and it made an interesting statement. Chris did. That said, and again, there's more in the interview, but I'm just paraphrasing here to one of his sentences, which was, as long as MTGO fans play it, we're committed to MTGO. I would argue that you could read between the lines that as long as MTGO fans pay for it, they're committed to MTGO. And again, you have all the cards on Magic Online. It's been there. It works. It's ugly as a dog, but you love it, even though if you like ugly dogs. Sometimes ugly dogs are still cool.
Well, it's also, if your standard keeps sucking, as far as I know, the only thing you can play on Arena is standard. So with Modern being as huge it is,
See? The jet
I'm
lag
so
monster.
Tired. But with Modern being as popular, I can't do this. Just go forward.
Just go. You know what? We're just going to move on. It's just whatever. Who cares?
Well, I just have a real quick thing to add on this topic, which is it dovetails a little bit with another thing that popped up today, which said that the only way to get non-standard cards on Magic Online going forward is going to be treasure chests.
Right.
Which is another interesting way to use a Evan Irwin phrase, sunset the program. Very slowly, just like take it out of the public consciousness over a decade. Like, I don't think that the impending doom isn't coming. You know, Magic Online isn't on life support, but it's getting Social Security. You know what I mean? So it's like
drawing a check. You know what I'm saying?
It's getting that, you know, afternoon discount at the old Cracker Barrel. You know, when you know, it's getting those matinee ticket prices. So this is just some interesting signaling going on here. I do agree that Magic Online is still going to be a powerful force for years going forward. Yes, for years. But it's not going to be around in 10 years. No. Would be my wager. I
mean, you know, the frog's in the water and the temperature goes up.
Okay, Boogie.
Just a little bit. Just all right. So, and also one of the things he mentioned was that it's coming to Mac. Yes, it's coming to Mac. Yes,
that's a huge deal. How do you not put it on Mac? The fact that, oh my God, the fact that Magic Online wasn't ever on Mac unless you ran, what was it, like Snow Leopard or whatever the emulator software was.
Well, no, you'd have to use Boot Camp to boot into Windows, or use another emulator.
Yeah, Boot Camp was what it was. Yeah, it was absurd, and so silly. This is like a very obvious first step. Using the Unity software, right, to do everything is a big deal. So
yeah, and
thank goodness for that.
It took a year for Hearthstone to make its way to phones, and sure. I, even though people are saying it's impossible, there's no way. Like, I believe that you could take MTG Arena, as they've shown it, they streamed it on those Wednesdays. You could have that on your phone, and you could have a decent experience. Maybe it wouldn't be the greatest one, but I think you can still make it happen. And I think, again, Hearthstone has already went down this road. Like, has already shown you, shortcuts you can do to hide hands and show things and blah, blah, blah to help make those interfaces work.
I'm glad that Magic, to put a bow on what I think, I'm glad that Magic has accepted the fact that it does not have to be the groundbreaker on literally everything in the industry. The fact that it's the groundbreaker on lots of things in the industry and also follows certain other design trends is okay. They don't have to just only bushwhack their own paths the whole time. So being able to follow in Hearthstone's footsteps a little bit is a good idea. The fact that they can follow in Eternal's footsteps is a good idea. The fact that they can, do a little bit of copying and a little bit of pasting from other people who've done some of the same work, even copying a little bit from the Pokemon TCG after they separated from Wizards of the Coast, sure, I think is good. The fact that they are able to, still innovate. They're still the granddaddy of all collectible card games. This is still the greatest game in the world, but you know what? Other people have good ideas too. So the fact that they're willing to do that because previously they weren't is a good, I think, a very good step.
Right. I mean, he's turning around a big ship. Like, this is he got there in June 2016. So like, we're just now almost mid 2018 actually seeing like the boat like go a little bit this way. And you're like, whoa, that's a huge change. Like, it took them.
To be fair, this is a castle, not a boat.
Oh God, and the castles in your boats or whatever. Okay, so
callback. All right.
God. All right. So we have with us some new. Chinese New Year is happening basically right now through the end of the month. They kind of do a big celebration, of course. And Wizards actually made some promos. And Ruben, was this a you thing, or Aaron, was this a you thing?
This was a me thing. I found these, but if you guys want to chime in, feel free. So the Lunar New Year is happening. Year of the Dog is coming up. And a lot of so there's a CNY League in Taiwan, and some of the Chinese folks got these Chinese New Year treasure tokens with new commissioned art featuring the golden tree, which is like a urban legend or I don't know, something having to do where money grows on trees. And they come in these awesome red envelopes, which is a New Year's tradition for Chinese New Year. Nice. You send red envelopes because white is bad luck. You wear white to funerals. You don't send white envelopes on Chinese New Year. You send red. And they're awesome. And I desperately want some. And these are so cool.
And I'm sure they're going to be worth $1 million because they're super hard to get.
Absolutely, and they come in a Revel in Riches red envelope, which is awesome, and so they're gorgeous. By the way, if you haven't seen them,
I got them on the screen.
You got them on the screen. Those trees, man, those gold trees, boy, let me tell you, those are great.
The boy and the howdy. That is super, super sweet. All right, so we got to go back to, I don't know if you call it a well. I think you'd call it like a weird sort of like a wound. It's like a wound that you sometimes the scab's there,
post.
And you kind of pick at it.
Look, sometimes when you walk, you return to similar landmarks.
We're here again. Is it Taya or is it
Taya?
Taya Miller wrote an article on TCG Player called "Death by 1,000 Paper Cuts," and it's pretty terrific because we're back at the women in Magic point, and we've had multiple segments just about this, the framing. So and so said this. Why can't we stop doing that? What's the big deal with so and so? She points out that over time, it's not one necessary action. It's not one thing that you could say, well, if they just didn't do X, then everything would have been fine. It is the culmination of, week after week, day after day, tournament after tournament, getting the same, did your boyfriend teach you to play? Like, would you ever ask a guy, did your girlfriend teach you to play?
Whose cards are those?
Right, and actually this is a better line of play, just doing the do the mansplain of the better play, and stuff like that. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then, at the end, she kind of, maybe Magic tournaments aren't for me. And I think, again, that's a reasonable thing to think and feel when that is the kind of, behavior and environment that you're in. And so she says here, one of the reasons discussing sexism and Magic is unproductive is because many men view the discussion as a personal attack. Everything is, well, it's your fault and you need to apologize and blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, no. If you would just notice that, sexism is a loaded word that makes a lot of people very angry. Okay. But we can and definitely should openly talk about this as a community. We want this game to grow, yet there's just not a lot of women playing Magic. There just isn't. And those that do have to put up with a lot of weird, crazy, dumb crap. And so one of the things that I found, and I thought this was pretty brilliant, was, they posted this on Reddit, and I was like, oh my God, like Reddit is just going to have a nasty heyday with this. Let me
interject real quick that Chris Cox says that he uses Reddit all the time as his main way of interacting with the community, which is like that's not what you should be doing if you're the president.
Honey, no.
I get that you're a white dude, but not everybody interacts with Reddit the same way we do. So.
It's true. Well, let me tell you, this is one of my most popular tweets of all time. It got 137 retweets and 490 likes. Okay, so
it's not even that much of a humble brag. That's just a brag. Sorry, keep going.
Well, look, man, I do what I do. But the point is, it was very popular because I think it did a great job at explaining to, for guys that just don't get it. If you just don't understand what in the world, still, you read the article, you're like, okay, I get it. Like over time, you feel whatever. And you go, no. Someone said, look, one of the things that helped me understand, and this is from Sir Richard Rose on Reddit. One of the things that helped me understand how most women feel, most probably feel when they go into a game store to play Magic, was going into a cosmetic store to shop. And so even though a lot of those products are gender neutral, and a small bit are, directed towards men, there was virtually zero representation of men in the store. There's no customers, there's no male employees, there's no male advertisements, there's no male decor, there's nothing that says, male about that place, and it made him feel uncomfortable, like he wasn't supposed to be there. And again, no one's saying anything to him. He's not getting all this, crazy feedback. No one's going nuts. It's just, you're like, this isn't for me. This is not my place to hang out. Right. That to me, and again, I think this is why it was so popular. It made you go, yeah, again, and me as a dude, like I go into like, a jewelry store or like, or definitely a cosmetic store. I'm just like, it is not my place. This is not where I go.
I go into the wrong comic book shop. If they don't have Magic, I feel out of place a lot of the time. This article, in addition to being returning to an issue that is very important and still has not been solved, was a fabulously written article on a level of which I was not prepared for. I consider myself to be a pretty decent dude, but I was very uncomfortable recognizing myself in this article. There was a particular spot where I think it was the round one opponent was just like describing me and me thinking that I was a good guy for being like, oh, you're clearly a new player. Perhaps you would like some help and giving deck advice. And that was like a thing that I thought was helpful. And then it's like not right. This was like, I didn't have the pleasure of seeing Get Out, with any particularly old white people. But it was that sort of, I saw that reaction of seeing that sort of, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem. I didn't realize that this was worth putting down on paper kind of interaction. Where when I saw it, I was like, oh, God, why? I just feel gross now. Like, I thought I was good. I thought I was helpful. And turns out I'm also worth putting in this article. What else have I been doing wrong this whole time? It was just deeply uncomfortable for me on a level that I've never had with a Magic article before. I agreed with P. Sully's breakdown, which was this was the first Magic article he'd read multiple times in several years. And I had to go back and read it again and again and again because I was like, man, this is heavy, and I need to, people need to internalize this.
Yeah, I've known Taya for a while. She's incredibly lovely. I just want to add, this has 2,300 likes on tcgplayer.com. She got over 200 retweets on this. This is probably, in the time I've been in the Magic community, this is probably the most popular article about this topic I've ever seen. More popular than Megan's article, than Gabby's introductory article. This is huge. A lot of people who don't normally chime in on this sort of thing came forward to tell Taya what a good job she did, and I think that says something. She did a really good job with this. And I can certainly relate to this. And it is sort of this feeling of one thing after another, where it's like, you guys can go to an event and wear your sweatpants and your flip-flops and carry your jug of water, and it's fine. We have to think about, okay, if I go on camera, is the camera going to see down my top? Is Twitch going to be talking about that? If I go on camera and I'm not looking my best, or if I stream, I can't go on stream without a dash of eyeliner or mascara because it's going to be, who's this scrub-looking girl on the stream? If I go 3-0 on the VSL, most people would say that's really awesome, but I know that that's going to be seen as not good enough compared to other people. It just sort of builds up after a while, and I completely related to what she was saying. And I really appreciated that she sort of preemptively took on a lot of the criticism that these articles tend to attract. Shout out to our friend Rada. If you don't follow Rada on Twitter, she's hilarious. She made a Women in Magic article bingo card of all the comments that typically come out whenever an article like this comes out. And certainly they came out for this one, but Taya kind of preemptively took them on of, it's not all men. We're not saying, we're not saying you did it. We're not saying your friend did it. We're not saying your store is terrible. We're not saying all stores are terrible. And you can kind of see the people who didn't really bother to read the article because they parroted everything she already covered in the article. It wasn't an attack. We're not saying that everybody does it. We're not saying that every woman has experienced this, but enough have to where the article needs to be churned out. If there weren't women playing Magic and we weren't seeing the Facebook groups, we weren't seeing the stories, we weren't seeing the Reddit posts, then we could simply chalk it up to maybe they're not interested. But as long as these stories are constantly coming out, as long as women are still having these experiences, it needs to be discussed. And I think Taya did it with a lot of grace and with a lot of poise in a way that I certainly couldn't do it. And many of us who've been fighting for years just can't do it anymore. But she really had a very unique voice to this, and I really appreciated it. And I hope that she does more, because if you follow her on Twitter, she's great. She's funny. She plays frequently. She's a good drafter. She's just an all-around good person, and I hope that she continues writing after this. Yeah, and I think it's, what better sign of the times than they had to remove comments.
Yep.
2,400 likes, not a comment down there, because it just turns into a sea of grossness that but that's another thing you see. This should have been on the bingo card, is the comments left on a Women in Magic article are the reason why we need to have Women in Magic articles. Because again, you will never see that level of vitriol on a deck tech or a biographical piece. You will never see that. That is a very specific brand of comments, and and it makes me sad. But next up, let's go to something that doesn't make me sad. and
seriously, though, it was a really fabulous
don't cry
article.
for Taya. She's doing great. Like, this article was a hit. Like, hey, don't cry.
Really well written.
The article was great, and it got tons of it did what it tried to do. Like it executed, and that was fantastic. So other things that aren't that uncomfortable for us is dual decks. Dual decks have one last
I don't know. Dual decks have been pretty awkward lately, just saying.
Well, mine's Desire in Walmart, y'all. Killing me. But the final one, besides having a really silly name, seriously, Elves versus Inventors.
It's a super silly name.
Are you kidding me? Jesus.
This should have been Nature versus Nurture. Like, how was this not Dual Decks Nature versus Nurture? How good would that have been?
That would be fantastic. Well, here we are. So I want to bring it up here on the screen. And they note here that the packaging for Elves versus Inventors is coming. They have a super cool new Goblin Welder as part of the Goblin deck.
Guys, I am 100% playing 4 of these Goblin Welders at GP Seattle if I can get my hands on them. I'm a painter 100%
guy. Killing those Goblin Welders.
Y'all know that I'm a painter guy. If I get my hands on these, look at this Goblin Welder.
The dragon.
He's got a little dragon.
Oh.
That's lighting his welder. Oh. It's so cute.
Nope.
It's so terrific. So Goblin Welder is going to be in there, as well as Solemn Simulacrum.
Victor Adame also, Aaron. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you just said.
Victor Adame. Victor Adame Menges.
Oh, Victor Adame. I love Victor.
With the welder art, like, you got to have a little bit of love.
Did an amazing job. Yeah, so Solemn Simulacrum is going to be in there. Thopter Assembly, Shib and Reef, which is also nice.
Yeah.
And brand new art for Thopter Assembly. It's on the screen now if you're watching. And that's really cool. And there's also going to be new art for Azuri Renegade Leader. And this was also done by Victor Adame Minguez. And did an amazing job, again. But we're also getting a new Archdruid, an Elvish Archdruid, which they show the new art here I have on the screen, which is amazing.
Yep. New Regal Force, and new Sylvan Advocate as well.
Yeah, so, you know, some Elf Friends, Archdruid, Regal Force, Sylvan Advocate, and the new Raymond Swanland artwork again for Elvish Archers there. But if you scroll back up, which I'll do here for you, you notice that they don't show you the elf side. They tell you what it is. They tell you it's Azuri Renegade Leader. And Azuri Renegade Leader, for those who don't know, is 2 green and a generic mana for a 2/2 rare that is a legendary elf warrior. I believe it was originally from Scars. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was also printed in Conspiracy 2, looks like. It has 2 abilities. One is green, regenerate another target elf. The other is 3 green, 2 generic mana, elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. That's cool. However, why won't they show us the card? Now, there's a couple of ideas as to why this is. The first one, which I think is the most likely, is that they're changing the way legendary creatures look. They're changing the frame that legendary creatures will be in. That's an idea. The other is they've always hated regeneration. Regeneration has been a big thorn in their side. They didn't like it. Everything now has gone to indestructible, yada, yada. Are they changing how regeneration works? Don't know. But it's just really interesting. They're like, here's half the package, can't show you the whole thing.
Third theory is that they're keywording legendary that I've seen occasionally. It's not likely. I'm not saying that that's a likely scenario. Sure. But because of the change to the legendary planeswalker rule, that they're going to just rework everything and have it be like a something else.
Like
I don't know what it would be.
Keyword to be
like
unique.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. I think that a different frame and a different text box are both equally much more likely than the third one.
Right, which is a possibility. You never know, because Dominaria is coming. This is certainly an old school calling back set. If they're going to do a big change like that, I can see it happening with a set like Dominaria coming up.
I think that Azum, whatever, Lost But Seeking. Azusa, Lost But See, I have Azusa and then Azuri, and then I got my brain fried. Anyway, them previewing that, and that's going to come out several months after this Azuri. I don't think they're changing the frame. I think that's less likely.
Fair enough.
I could be wrong. I usually am. But I think that the regeneration phrasing is a much more likely scenario because they haven't printed a card with regeneration in a while. They've replaced regeneration in black with the temporary indestructible. They've mostly replaced it in green with giving stuff temporary hexproof kind of things, like Ranger's Guile and things like that. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, they certainly have an option here. But we're going to move on here now to Desperate Ravings. And one of the first things I want to bring up here is, and we're kind of getting into the theme of this, is like there's yet another Magic game announced. There's another game in the world of Magic happening. And this one's going to be a MOBA because, you know, that would have been so hot like 5 years ago. This would have been serious. Like, we would have been flipping out 5 years ago over this. Now we're
would
just
it
like,
have even been that hot 5 years ago?
It would have been hotter. I mean, you know.
Certainly would have been hotter.
I mean, how
I guess
long?
Smite came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there was still room to move or whatever. But anyway, Magic the Gathering and Netmarble announced Project M. So Project M is basically a MOBA for Magic the Gathering.
Great.
MOBA being a multiplayer online battling game. or Battling Arena, I think is what it stands
Battle
for.
Arena, yeah.
Yes.
So something like Smite, the most popular one is League of Legends.
Right.
Dota.
Heroes of the Storm. All that stuff is a thing. It's a quote-unquote Magic the Gathering Project M is a strategic multiplayer battler featuring fan-favorite planeswalkers, blah, 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 and spells and so forth. It's still early in the process, but we'll be closely working with Netmarble to roll out specific details as we get closer to release. So that is a thing. However, there is a saturated MOBA market. Definitely.
Yes.
There's just too
I was going to
many
say, aren't a bunch of MOBAs shutting down?
Yeah. Epic shut down Paragon, and this comes in the wake of others shutting down development of their games. There's now the 2 top-tier games, League of Legends and Dota 2, second-tier games, Smite and Heroes of the Storm, and then below that are a couple smaller games. But yeah.
Well,
and Paragon had a successful release. Was the other thing that was weird to me was because, like, I pay a little bit of attention to, like, the gaming publications. I have a couple friends who are, you know, big on MOBAs and things like PUBG and stuff like that. This was a successful MOBA. This was a acceptable project. And then Epic was just like, yeah, it wasn't a blowout success, and we have this other thing coming that we want to support more. So, you know, first of all, that release was all they're like returning all of the stuff to the players that bought stuff on Paragon. They were like, yeah, here's everything back. Play our other game in like 3 months, our first-person shooter or whatever. But yeah, it's just a weird marketplace to try to get into.
Well, Netmarble is a company that makes another game called Lineage 2, and which, of course, was a sequel to Lineage, which is, as I understand it, a massive multiplayer online RPG for your mobile device. Okay, sure. But they've also made MOBAs, if this isn't a MOBA, and I'm misunderstanding that, forgive me. The point is, someone was mentioning to me, like, hey, what Netmarble has done in the past is they've taken essentially they have a shell. You know what I mean? Like, you created a MOBA game. MOBAs are very sort of straightforward in that way. You know, you have these characters, they have these 3 abilities, they can upgrade their stuff over time, blah, blah, blah. Also, one thing that kills me about MOBAs, it's like, you know, it's a MOBA because everybody moves slowly. I don't know what it is about moving slowly, but that's the MOBA thing. Oh, he moves like this. Well, that's a MOBA game because I can't stand it. But what they can do is they can reskin an already existing MOBA game that already has all the numbers tweaked and whatever, and you just call the spells whatever, and you know, you kind of work it up with a theme, and you kind of work some graphics and make some new models, and then ta-da, you have a new MOBA game. I'm not saying they're doing that. I'm just saying that's a thing that they can do, because at this point a MOBA is so industry standard. How they work, having the lanes, having the gates, having the whatever, like the stuff is just like you're just checking off boxes at this point. And so now we get Magic's version.
Ew. That sounds gross. Yeah. I don't want to do that. I don't want Clash of Clans Planeswalker Edition. That sounds stupid. I mean, I'm also not the audience for this. Like, I'm not a MOBA guy. This is not my wheelhouse.
Like,
it's true, we do already have Puzzle Quest.
Puzzle Quest was, again, you could argue that was just kind of wallpapered with Magic stuff and Magic spells and some Magic art, and it's the same Puzzle Quest game that you can have in a different flavor, in the Marvel version or whatever.
I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that Wizards hasn't gotten in on these single-player deck builder games like Slay the Spire, because that seems like an easy fit for Wizards of the Coast, and they just haven't done it.
The only thing I remember about Puzzle Quest is that the artist's rendition of Nissa looked like Lindsay Lohan. That's the only takeaway I took away from that was, is that Lindsay Lohan?
I mean, the Weekend starred as Snapcaster Mage on that one card. And Eddie Murphy plays Teferi in the new upcoming Dominaria movie. I mean, you know, it's all.
Look,
there was
that Teferi looks like Eddie Murphy, man. I'm not.
There was a Christian Slater elf card that came out a little while ago. That I forget which card it was exactly, but it looked exactly like Christian Slater.
Right. So allow me to grind my gears a little bit. Because it's not necessarily a red zone, because we're not really arguing about anything per se, but
no, this is just old man magic.
This is just let me tell y'all a little something about what we used to do back in the day. You know what we used to do back in the day? Like, what we used to not do back in the day was play a game of Magic in the Pauper format. There just wasn't enough cards. Well, by God, we're 25 years in, people, and we have reached a mass where Pauper is a real format. It's fun. People are showing up to it. It fires on the Magic League is almost 1,000 people. Like, it is a good, awesome, fun format where you can still play with Counterspell, you can still play with Lightning Bolt, and all those things still work. But Wizards does not officially recognize it as a paper format. For them, if you go look on their website, they say it's a Magic online format. Now, Wizards, we got to get our big boy britches on this time, okay? We got to sit here and say, look, You can play Pauper as a sanctioned, constructed event. Here is your ban list. Because what happens right now is, remember we were talking about all these people showing up to the sweet Pauper events that Channel Fireball was running? Yep. I had no idea till I saw this today. This was how they do it. They don't have a ban list. Instead, they have a list of like 10,000 cards that you can play.
And let me just add, the list doesn't have any links or like mouse overs. So like typically when you read an article on a site like Channel Fireball or Gathering Magic, you can mouse over the cards to see what they are. Oh no, it's 10,000 cards. And if you want to know what they do, you then have to open up another window or click on this search thing at the top right-hand corner and type in the name of the card or copy and paste the card. Like, it's very cumbersome.
It's stupid. It is literally the worst way that you could implement this. Like, I mean, actually, I'm curious if there is a worse way beyond this, because you have to keep up this list forever. Every time there's a new product, every time there's a master set, every time there's a new set and standard, you have to go through, find all the commons, get all their names, and add them to this list instead of saying, here's what you can't play. There's a reason you use, you know, blacklists versus whitelists. Like, you don't use blacklists because you want to stop certain things happening. Use whitelist if you're wanting to just let in certain things. You don't use whitelist for Magic formats. That's dumb. So let's make one ban list. Yes, it's going to have a lot of cards on it, because the way Pauper works on Magic Online is that it's only the cards on Magic Online that have been printed as common. So you don't have Red Elemental Blast, you don't have Sinkhole, you don't have Dark Ritual, you don't have Hymn the Turok, because they were printed on Magic Online, but they weren't printed at a common rarity. And I'm okay with that, and Pauper players are okay with that, because that's the way the format has worked, is with all of these things already in place. So go ahead and show a ban list of a ton of cards, but once you have that ban list, you don't have to change it. You have to change it if you ban something or if you unban something. That's literally the only, those are your two modes at that point. And you don't have to keep it up forever, and it becomes an actual format. So I think it's taking some time, but I think the support has shown, Wizards, can we please treat this like a real format and stop pussyfooting around and just make it happen?
So let me get this straight. So the Pauper ban list is a Channel Fireball ban list?
No.
It is a what you can play in the format list. It's not really channels. You know what I mean? It's
so there's no, it's the Wild West, right? So this is the Pauper stuff that you can play in Channel Fireball events at GPs. But for example, SCG Con later this summer is going to have a Pauper event. The professor is invited to it. That's not a Channel Fireball event. What's their ban list?
Well, their ban list, again, is going to be how Magic Online works, because that's what the community has decided. This is how it works.
But it's okay. So is that different than what's on Channel Fireball?
No. Yes. What? I thought it was.
No, it's not. It's the exact same as you're playing on Magic Online. This
is what makes me uncomfortable. Even if it is the same, there is still confusion.
Correct.
Right. And it's not necessary, and it's weird, and it's a bad way to implement a system where I get it. I get what they were trying to do. You know what? I feel for you, Channel Fireball. I've been there trying to get events happening and make all this stuff work and putting in the structures and putting in the whatever. But this is a bad thing. And it's because Wizards just won't take the step and say, okay, Pauper's a real thing. We really like Pauper, which then kind of moves on into going infinite, where I was mentioned. Go ahead.
I just wanted to build on that for a little bit. This is just sort of typical Wizards. You know, we saw this after the Pro Tour. You know, the Pro Tour broke records. I think 40,000 plus people were watching. I think just the top 8, was it, or was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge, and people were saying afterwards, like, let's see what Wizards does next, because who wants to make a bet that this will have come and gone, and then they'll be like, well, we're just gonna go back to all standard, and it's like, what? Right. And this is not the first time that Wizards has been bad at reading the room. And, you know, so you say that, you know, we see that Pauper's taking off. You know, we see that, you know, the three GPs the professor went to, the attendance kept growing and growing and growing. It'll be interesting to see what Wizards does about it, because in the past, it's just been sort of, you know, la, 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 la. And it's like, what are you doing?
It's just weird. We're in that stage where it used to be EDH and it wants to be Commander. Yeah. Half people are saying EDH, half of them are saying Commander. Like, Wizards needs to come out and be like, look, This is Pauper. Pauper is fun. Pauper's a way. And you know why Pauper's Pauper is popular right now? Is because Standard is a gross wasteland of awfulness, and no one really wants to play it. And
Modern's very expensive. I mean, Modern and Legacy are expensive. You know, one of the selling points the professor really likes to lean on is that Pauper is sort of like Legacy Light, where you can play Days and you can play Delver and old school Counterspell, and you can play those things, you know, without having to buy a $2,000 Delver deck. You know.
Yeah. It's also one of the reasons why I got into Peasant Commander late in my college career, which is you pick an uncommon creature and then the entire deck is commons. Because it is easier to get into. It's cheaper. There's still plenty of spiky ways to play the format. For example, I literally played Quill Spike, which is not only the spikiest possible deck, but it also has the word spike right in the name. Wow. There are lots of ways to get your giggles with commons. Like, the game is great. You don't necessarily need mythic rares, although, you know, some mythic rares are great. Sometimes, you know.
It's really fun because I am just as excited to see what is downgraded into common from Masters 25 as I am.
Reanimate one time.
Yeah, what's the mythic? Like, come on, let's do this. It would be fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But again, I think Wizards has an opportunity here. And again, this is where we pivot over into Going Infinite, where the professor made a video, said, hey, what if there were Pauper event decks? I had mentioned it online, and we talked about it a little bit, and he made a whole video about it and had somebody mock up what an actual like deck, like, you know, a package would look like on the shelf. It looks super cool because, again, these are just commons. Like, there are some commons like Oubliette, which are like $50 right now because there's just no other printing. And it's not like the card is stupidly powerful. It's basically, you know, Journey to Nowhere. It's just Journey to Nowhere in black.
Yeah, it's a worse Oblivion Ring.
Yeah,
it's
a worse, you know, Journey to Nowhere in black, and that's fine. So now you could do alternate art. You could make it foil, so there's a foil Oubliette, and put that sucker right on the front if you wanted to on the package, because who cares? Like, it's their common cards. You can make good money off these common cards, and Lord knows shops all around the world are starting to do that. Like, and there were 30 people that showed up last Saturday to Cool Stuff Games to play in a Pauper event. Awesome. And you know, we're going to roll out all 7 stores. We're going to start running them. People are really excited about it. One of the employees came in and it was just like, dude, this deck is awesome. And I paid $8 for it. And I'm like, yes, see, that's perfect. Great. And you can have fun and you don't have to invest a ton of money to enjoy Magic.
And you don't have to mess with the secondary market that much. I mean, your Oubliettes are going to go down in price, but really, who's bought out Oubliettes? You know what I mean? Like, you get to print foil. What's the one that they didn't make? Hydroblast? Because they did the red elemental blast.
No, the ones in the format that you can only use Pyroblast and Hydroblast.
Okay, so they made those already, so never mind.
Right.
But you can make foil like Quirion Rangers and foil Gorilla Shamans and other things that are popularly played in that format that aren't expensive in real life, that if you printed them before they became expensive, before they became things in real life, in a supplemental deck like this kind of thing, that'd be awesome. It would make everyone very happy.
Absolutely. So we'll save we will save our splash damage for next week's show. We'll be back on a Wednesday. There's only so many days of news between here and Wednesday, so
good idea.
That's a good juicy
We have a lot
topic.
to say. We have a lot to say on that topic.
Yeah,
so we'll save that one for next week.
That one's going to be really interesting.
We also covered a bit of it in the pre-show. So if you are one of our $5 plus patrons, who we thank you for it, you'll get a little bit of a preview of it there.
That's right. And those who only pledge $1 still get access to the secret episode and our Discord channel, so you can come and talk to us as we chitter chat. So, first, I need to pull a winner so I don't forget that like I usually do.
Wow! I'm so proud of you, Evan.
Oh, right. It's just, we've been doing this for years. It's fine.
You've been doing it for years, but yet the title of the episode still says Evan Livestream.
Ooh.
What? It does?
Does it?
Yeah,
does it?
At least according to my Twitch, it does.
Oh, I was changing that. That's weird. You know what? You're totally right. I didn't change it on the Twitch. Okay, I'm terrible. You know what? It's whatever. It's, it's a thing. I'm sorry, guys. That said,
someday we'll be a professional show.
one of these days when I have a producer and I don't have to run all that. Yeah. So congratulations to Chris B from North Olmsted, Ohio. Ruben, you have any idea where that is?
know where North Olmsted is. I don't think. I mean, Chris B is like a pretty generic name. So I'm not
not
sure.
if you know that person. Just do you know where that is?
I know where North Olmsted is. Yeah.
Okay, because I have no idea where that happens to be. But congratulations, Chris. I'll hit you up with an email, and we will get you a draft set when, of course, the set comes out. We'll get you 3 packs of Masters 25, which is
that's Cleveland. That's Cleveland area, so it's like not my stomping grounds, but
okay,
still cool.
Still cool. We're going to turn the corner to the finisher. Earlier this week, Megan and Mariah from Magic the Amateur.
Maria.
I see. I screw it up every time. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. You're just going to put like type it like phonetically because I am slow. Earlier this week, Megan and Maria from Magic the Amateur launched their Patreon pledge month to help fund their new headquarters in the Great White North of Minnesota. And you can be a founding member, getting your name on their Ravnica wall with a donation to their efforts on their website. The new Amateuring HQ will join the ranks of Magic content production houses like Loading Ready Run and Tolarian Community College, which got me thinking, if we were to, do that, what should we do for our big fundraiser, Ruben?
Well, if by some miracle, some unforeseen series of events, Evan convinces or bribes or blackmails me to move to the Devil's Armpit of Orlando, Florida, one of, if not the worst states and cities in the world, I think we could do a Kamigawa wall to pay homage to just how terrible both Evan's favorite block and home city are.
Oh my God, hashtag build the wall.
not okay, man. People all over the world travel to my city.
Because they have to.
Get 'em,
that's
Florida.
where all the conventions are.
Wow. Aaron?
Well, after my recent trip to Spain, where they don't have double burgers or McDonald's hash browns, and you get weird looks when you ask for a refill for your soda, I'm definitely in to put a commemorative drive-through window into the studio where our supporters can put extra bacon on our cheeseburgers. I was starving.
So, where's the food?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you will never appreciate.
You walk into a supermarket in Europe and there's one type of peanut butter. You walk into a supermarket in America and there's an entire aisle of peanut butters.
Oh, yes. All the peanut butters are there. But if we are lucky enough in a few years to be in the position to join the ranks of those fellow Magic content luminaries, I'd be honored to offer Mike's patrons the opportunity to support our Gather the Townsfolk initiative, in which you will get your name emblazoned on our wall proclaiming, "Thank you for supporting Magic Mike's from the beginning, our instep."
Nice.
Yes.
Our very own Monarch token wall.
Yeah.
So that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic Live. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
See ya in like 4 days.
We'll be
5
back.
days.
Jeez. Short. Couple will be back on the stream here in just a couple days. We'll be fine. We'll see.
Aaron's streaming in 2 days. We do top 10 in 3 days, and then another show in 5 days. We're getting busy.
So busy. Moving to our final slide here, I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching, and I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Visit our website at MagicMikesPodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters, or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv/MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, on Reddit at Reddit.com/r/MagicMikes, on Facebook at Facebook.com/MagicMikes. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.